Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT News, and Masters is only just a few days away, but plenty of drama going on. We've got some roster changes happening, and Dapr also calling out the coach of version 1 as things get pretty heated. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you are new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Which group is the scariest of them all? You guys have got to figure that one out over the coming days. We'll look at the groups actually here once again in a second, just as we've got to talk about Fnatic and Derke potentially being back for them. Of course, the teams they're getting out there, G2 they're flying out. Of course, we'll talk about the Derke thing in a second. Some teams have flown out much earlier than others, which does make you think, because of course there's some sort of quarantine period, maybe a 48-hour quarantine period or something the players and the teams have to go through when they get there. So ideally, I guess you want to fly out earlier so you can get out of that quarantine and kind of enjoy and relax a little bit for a couple of days. But well, they're flying out there now. I guess they're flying out there on the 6th, so they've got a couple of days. Should be all okay, right? Especially if they're playing, G2 I guess have the first seed actually from EMEA, so they don't play for quite some time, so not too much of an issue for them, but for other teams understandably. So this is the view from wherever they're staying in Reykjavik here. It's absolutely phenomenal. I think I saw maybe Vanity replied to some of these being like, oh yeah, come on son, if only they won like one more game they could have made it all the way through, who had actually made it out. So yeah, beautiful location, going to be an exciting event, no doubt about that one. No I guess no well, fans unfortunately, but it is what it is, I suppose. This though from Derke, because the big discussion point the last few days in the European side has been, wow, all these teams are so, FPX of course couldn't make it out there. Fnatic, right, were in such a tough spot with Derke, arguably the best duelist going to this event, potentially not being able to make it. He does the antigen test, comes back negative for the first time in a very long time. So it seems like he will be able to get out there. Also got the negative from the lab, right? So I guess like the PCR test or whatever, the lateral flow test. Basically, both of them were negative, so he's good to go. Get out there in Iceland. Really good stuff. Of course, this comes out on the 6th. I guess if he flies out today on the 7th, that'll mean he gets there on the 7th, has a couple of days to figure things out in quarantine or whatever, and then I believe they play on the 11th. So he should be okay, I think, depending on what Riot want to do or whatever. Like, I'm not exactly sure what the restrictions are, whether there's going to be additional time or whether he can't play their first game, but still, you'd have thought he should be okay, because they played their first match here on Monday, the 11th of April, so that's in a few days' time. So you'd think it should be okay now, and they're also in the group with their DRX and Zeta division, so it should be, in theory, a very achievable group for Fnatic. I think most people kind of thought they might get through this anyway, even without Derke, but with him, they all of a sudden do become one of the favourites for the tournament once again, because right now with no FPX, a lot of people are looking, of course, at the North American teams, the likes of Optic, the Guard, of course, but yeah, then the European guys as well, Fnatic, G2, Liquid, potentially, who knows what's going to happen, and there could be some crazy upsets, as per usual, at major tournaments like this. Most were hoping that Fnatic at least can play with Derke, so we get to see them potentially at their full potential. And Dapr, that we'll talk about here in a few more minutes' time, is that, well, he's pretty confident it's going to happen. Derke got the COVID curse just like me last year. Fnatic win Iceland, written in the stars. That's the thing. Generally, North American teams relatively successful in Iceland so far in the history of Masters the last year or so, but maybe Fnatic are winning it this time around. Dapr at least believes that might be the case. We shall see. Very excited for this tournament, honestly, to get underway in a couple of days. Speaking of a team that certainly did not go to the tournament, including Bonecold, formerly of Ascend, seems like Vitality making many changes. Tanish HQ as the head coach, he's joining in. Cadaver and Bram's going to BDS, Bonecold joining the team, and Vac apparently is trialled with Ascend as well. So there's many things going on right now with Ascend. I saw some screenshots going down yesterday of a team kind of scrimming them with cNed and the other guys there. I think Monster might be one of the players joining that team. So there's some trials going on right now with Ascend. They're trying to figure out what they do, because of course they're looking at this tourney thinking, wow, we can't be there, we're the champions. That's unfortunate stuff. We're not going to be the champions, of course, for too much longer, at least the reigning global champions of the most recent global event. Someone will take the title away from them. Got to talk about this as well real quick. So former xCNed and 100 Thieves players respectively, Pura and JC Starny, recently been practicing with Gen.G. Very interesting stuff. Pura, of course, when he was with xCNed, the team didn't have all that much success. Cryo, of course, has been a pretty much a revelation for them. But JC Starny, he was part, it seemed for a while, of the 100 Thieves program. They seemed to want him for a little bit. Then, of course, Sean Gers and DDK come through. They don't want him anymore. He could maybe have IGL'd for that roster. But Stella seems to be the man coming in there instead. We looked yesterday at that possibility of Asuna, Bang, Ethan being gone, Hiko being gone, Derek coming in alongside Will and Stella, and maybe Stella being one of the most underrated IGLs in the world, if not certainly North America. So JC Starny, they decide to go another way. These two guys might be going over to Gen.G. This is kind of the breakdown of the situation over there, because GMD, formerly also of Gen.G, he might be going the way of TSM as we looked at over the last couple of days. So honestly, so much discussion here, right? The last few days has been crazy in terms of roster changes stuff. I'm sure we'll get more details over time, but also you do have to wonder, like I kind of thought this after Champions last year, that some of these teams, yes, they want to lock in players, players, then we'll lock in contracts, get everything good to go. But also after Champions, or after Masters, sorry, who knows what happens, right? Teams might want to make changes. It's relatively unlikely that Optic or the Guard are going to make changes, so if you want to target North American players, probably North American teams are going to be wise to lock in right now. Before we mention the Dapr stuff, I did want to say this real quick here from TenZ. No stream tonight, got a lot of stuff I've got to do tomorrow morning. He mentions this also. Been playing Chamber for a little bit on stream now. Think having a slow on his already free and fast fire rate operator is a little too much. So what do you think about this, right? Is Chamber too strong? Because when Chamber was first announced or first released, there was a lot of excitement about him. Like, he comes in as technically a Sentinel, even though he almost has properties of other roles in a sense. But he's been a very powerful agent, especially in the North American side. People use Chamber all the time nowadays. Pretty much a staple, to be honest. If you're a Sentinel, like, anyone can really use Chamber to go into Fate if you can shoot pretty well. Of course, on like eco rounds and stuff, the Headhunter, very powerful also. And then the ultimate is super strong, certainly in certain choke points. And it fires very, very fast, much quicker than a normal operator, and it has the slower Fate, which makes it so difficult to get away from. The operator is incredibly good. Chamber's ultimate, really tough to deal with, very powerful agent, of course, and in North America has really kind of taken off. The first few weeks, I think not many people used him, but now he's got very popular indeed. So is Chamber too strong? Is the operator too good? I think TenZ is kind of saying, look, maybe get rid of the slow on Chamber's ult, and maybe that's going to make him slightly more balanced. Like, it might be something they think about, right? Because if Chamber's getting used at a very high rate, even though then, like, Chamber's getting used quite a lot, but he's not getting used absolutely all the time on every single map. So there is some talk about that, but TenZ seems to believe Chamber might be too strong. I don't know if you guys agree with that one in the comments section below. This also just wanted to talk about here from Dapr, because some fun, whenever stuff like this happens, it's always entertaining just to look at. So Ian Harding, the coach right now for version 1, of course a team that this time failed this time around to get all the way through to Masters, he still says the following. Of course, this time last year in Iceland, Reykjavik once again, I still to this day am convinced if we had Whippy in Iceland, we would have won it. Guard remind me so much of the vibes we had going there, and they might just win this. So he's pretty confident the Guard can do it. Like, kind of young up and coming team, very hungry guys, like guys that people didn't really put too much faith in, right? That will have a lot of promise to potentially do a major run here at Masters. Of course, last year the version 1 team, they couldn't field Whippy due to like basically some COVID issues. I'm not even sure he had it, but it was kind of more like he couldn't get the visa he wanted as a result. Therefore, Whippy wasn't able to attend. They had to bring in Jammies instead. So unfortunate stuff for version 1 last year. They go to that tourney. I believe they get top 6 in the end. They lose to, I think, Newturn in the upper bracket and then Fnatic in the lower bracket to fall out of the tournament in 6th position. But he believes, the coach believes, they would have made it all the way through and won the entire thing if they'd have had Whippy and they'd have had their full roster they wanted to go with. Dapr reckons though, wake up bro, what are you talking about? And Ian Harding says in the reply, actually, he goes, do I need to link you the clips of you saying that you didn't want to play us, right? Basically saying that you guys, Sentinels, were scared of playing us. Never mind, you actually played the game then and could shoot your guns. So he's firing back and saying, look, that's when you guys were actually good. Nowadays, you're just terrible. And Dapr is not going to take that one lying down. Yeah, obviously, I was terrified of your team in Iceland. Certainly a bit of tongue-in-cheek, bit of sarcasm going on. Truly wake up, bro. You're living in a fantasy world. Also, don't feel confident enough to try to trash talk me when your career high was that 6th place at a 10-team LAN. So Dapr's certainly not taking this one lying down. Thought this is very entertaining, but I'm sure this is going to continue going forward, right? So they kind of leave it there. That's how these things tend to go. The players talk trash to coaches or whatever, and it goes up on Twitter. Then the other guy's thinking, okay, whenever I get a chance to get my own back on this guy, I'm going to make the most of the opportunity. So version 1 versus Sentinels, whenever that next happens, definitely keep your eyes tuned to Twitter for what might happen in the consequences of that one. This also to mention real quick, because of course, Platchat was going down. They did a kind of, always their power rankings. There's always a bit of banter going on here, to be honest. But this is what they believe going into the tournament. So certainly some North American IPM going on right now. Liquid actually down there in 10th, I thought was pretty interesting. And Zeta Division right here at the bottom. But Optic Gaming, the Guards, number 1, number 2. They put Fnatic with Derke, which it does now seem to be the case, in a number 2, kind of already top of the table position. I think that probably FPX even might have been favourites for this event had they actually been able to attend, unfortunately. And Fnatic with Derke might well be. I think in most people's minds, though, yes, it's Optic, the Guard, G2, Fnatic, if they have Derke there or thereabouts, that are probably favourites for this event. I'm sure it does depend, though, to quite a significant degree on what region you happen to come from. But yeah, do you guys think this is any way valid? It's difficult for me to really put a finger on, how good the teams are from other regions. I think Loud have been very solid, that some of their stats look pretty incredible. But honestly, anything can happen in these type of events. We saw what Crew were capable of before. I think they have some incredible upset potential. Team Liquid being so far away from G2 seems kind of strange, given that I believe in the Challengers playoffs, Liquid actually beat G2 the first time they played them, and then when they played them lower bracket, G2 looked way better and took down Liquid pretty comfortably. But still, there's no guarantees that this is anywhere near accurate. There are always some crazy upsets in the Valorant world. And just to finish off with a nice little clip here from Sean from the GenG side. But very much enjoyed to get thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button. Tell us the YouTube gods this is a good video. Others like you should see it as well. And hope grow the competitive Valorant community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care of yourselves. And I will see you next time.
Hold on,
He's more bomb right now.
He's not still there. TP.
TP out, TP out.
What's more bomb, you said?
I'll
Well,